Shukoya reporting from Manhattan in New York City. The 2020 U.S. presidential election is finally here. After months of campaigning, today marks an end of what people have described as an arid presidential campaign season that was upended by the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions of Americans are coming to the poll today to cast their ballots in the nation's 59th presidential election. They will choose between whether to keep the incumbent President Donald Trump in the office for another 4 years or elect a new president, former Vice President Joe Biden, to be their next president. I am at one of the polling centers in New York City. The poll opened today at 6 a.m. with very little disruption reported as early as this afternoon. Millions, more than 100 millions of Americans have already cast their vote during the early voting period, and that's more than 72% of the total vote from 2016. Many people voted by mail. This election set a record as a historic turnout year, with the COVID-19 pandemic having a huge impact on people's decision on how to vote and which candidates to vote for. I spoke with an election supervisor. So, talk to me about what has been going on from this morning.
Okay, from this morning at 6 o'clock when we open up, there was a small line, and I asked for the first 25 poll vote, to come in. So the 25 came in, and then I told them to bring in, some more. Apparently, it was only maybe 35 or 40 people standing outside. And so after that, round about, I figured 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, there was no line. So right now, from 9 to now, people just started walking in, but we still don't have a line. And right now, the time is almost 2 o'clock. Apparently, what we're looking for is that about 6 o'clock, that the line will begin to pick up. So I believe because of the early voting and the ballots that was mailed in, that helped a lot of people not to come out. But I still believe there's a certain amount of people still have not voted.
Okay.
So I believe maybe people work today, or people might be out of town, what the situation might be. And I believe they'll come out before the polls close. Hopefully, they'll come out before the polls close. Because I've never seen anything like this on not on a presidential, a general election.
And this is you mentioned to me earlier on that this is your 11th
I've been
time.
working with the polls for 11 years. As a coordinator, I've been working with the polls for probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay. And you also mentioned that the workers that you have this time around are a lot younger than...
Yes, the staff I have is younger, and not only they're younger, but they're very good staff. They appear to be able to read instructions. They appear to be able to follow instructions, and also they catch on very quickly. Only thing they was doing was like, let me go read. They read the instructions, and they, was able to open up their scanners. They was able to put their tablets together, and I didn't really have to go and say, well, this is how a tablet works. I didn't have to do that. They already knew how to operate the tab, what the input data they needed, and how to basically, implement it.
Okay. Compared to previous election, in 2016, there was some disruption. And you mentioned that earlier on this morning that two of the scanners were not working, and it's been replaced.
Yeah, they've been replaced. The scanners were replaced. Basically, it was nothing really major because one of the scanners was zero. Was not accepting any ballots, so that was whatever that technical situation was. The other scanner kept getting jammed, so they had a few ballots in, and that basically will go into the the replacement, and we will continue to count.
Okay. During the early election, there were some issues in the polling center. There were a long line. Do you think the Board of Election learned from that experience to prepare for today?
Well, yes, I believe they did, and the way they learned was through the ballots, through the early voting plus the mail-in ballots, which, as you can see now, I don't have a line here, and I believe it's because of the early voting and the mail-in ballots. So they was prepared, very much prepared for this particular general election.
New York State, known as a blue state and a multicultural place with large population of immigrants, started early voting on October 24th and ended on November 1st. While COVID-19 pandemic is top issue on many New Yorkers' minds, other issues include restoring decency to the presidency, foreign policy, honesty, leadership, racial justice, climate change. You just voted. What are some of the issues that are important to you in this election as you go in to vote?
I have an 8-year-old granddaughter, and I'm a proud American patriotic citizen. I want her to be proud of her country. I want her to be proud of her president. So my issues are competency, civility, the pandemic, the economy, but basically having a person in foreign policy. It's all of them, because for me at 70, but also for her at 8, I want her to know that we are again a competent, excellent. How can I not mention the children separated from their parents? We need somebody with a heart, and we need somebody who forms a coalition of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and Conservatives. We need a president, not somebody who's going to endanger people's lives because he likes applause at rallies and doesn't care if you're in Nebraska or wherever it was and you're stuck in the cold.
So you just voted.
I did.
Okay. Can you tell me what are some of the issues that were important to you in this election?
Honesty and integrity in our leadership.
The poll has been opening. Is there any reason why you waited until today to vote?
I was kind of optimistic that it wouldn't be too bad, and I was right.
Okay. So, I'm not going to ask you who you voted for.
I think you already know.
But, well, if you want to tell us, you can.
That's okay. I wish you and your readers health and prosperity, and hopefully that this terrible pandemic is behind all of us.
Okay. So was the COVID or the economic some of the issues on your mind also?
Of course.
It was?
Of course.
Which one took out?
I think COVID's on my mind, and I think the economy is on my mind, and I think international affairs are on my mind, and I think that the United States has always been a bastion of hope for countries around the world, and I would like to do my personal participation in acting as a good citizen and voting, and I try to vote for people that I think would be a good leader on all accounts.
Okay, so since you mentioned international affairs, what do you think should be the top priority for the next president? What should be the top agenda when it comes to foreign policy?
Well, I think we have to recognize our friends and increase the dialogue with our enemies or countries that are adverse to our interests, but at the same time restoring credibility and finance and backing to the diplomatic process as well as our armed forces. And sometimes the diplomatic process doesn't get the same respect, and I think that needs a strong place in international affairs at all times.
So the relation with China, does that play any role? Is that important to you?
I think I have a helpful mistrust of a lot of the information that comes out of China, and I think most of our leadership feels the same way. In terms of the diplomatic process that we engage in with them, I think that we have to trust but verify, and sometimes I think that the people that deal with us from China at times are not trustworthy.
You mentioned this is your first time of doing this since 12 years?
Yeah, since 2008.
So again, if you can just tell us what is your reason for volunteering again this time around?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's because I had COVID in March and I have the antibodies, and even though, whether that really means I'm protected, I don't know what the science means, but statistically, I think, I am in a position where I am probably a better person to have in a risky situation. So, out of safety for me and my community, I signed up to be a poll worker.
So this has nothing to do with the current political climate and the administration response to COVID?
No, I mean, you could probably argue that they're connected because politics does affect the world, but no, I mean, I think it's really just safety and, help the community. This is often old people who work the polls, and so it might not be an easy year for most people to work the polls that normally do.
So if you don't mind me asking, you said you had COVID. How long did you experience the illness?
Oh, not long for me. I was only like a few days.
Were you in
really
the
sick.
hospital?
What's up?
Were you admitted to the hospital?
No, it was early March. So we were a little afraid to go to the hospital at that point. It was pretty early on.
So this was before the lockdown.
Yeah, it was right during. I was actually about a day after the lockdown started was when I got a fever.
So did you have any idea how you cleared it at that period?
Yes, I was with my family, and my father went to a wedding a few days earlier with a bunch of NYFD firefighters who all happened to have caught COVID either that week or the week after.
Oh, okay. And your father?
Was sick for a while, but he has made a full recovery.
He has fully recovered. So, the response, there's been one of the issues regarding this election is the current administration response to COVID. Do you have anything to say regarding that? Because it's we have the economic, which is a huge part of this election, and then we have COVID, the health aspect of it. Do you have anything to say?
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of people are coming in here with that in mind.
And what are some of the issues for you in this election?
Oh, I mean, I think same litany of everyone else. I think democracy and standing up for democracy, for rights of my LGBTQ friends. Yeah.
Speaking of standing up for democracy, inclusive communities, and the country, some businesses show their support by giving out free goods to election poll volunteers and voters. Tell me what you're doing here today.
So I'm here from Baked by Melissa. We are giving out free cupcakes to all the poll workers, as well as all the people on the lines today to just, show encouragement and support, kind of like Pizza to the Polls. And we are excited and glad that everybody's doing what they should do to help this democracy.
Okay, is this the first time that you're doing this?
This is the first time we are doing it, and these are what the little cupcakes look like.
So you're giving it to voters and also to volunteers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any reason why you decided to do this today?
So if you talk to our president, you talk to Melissa, she's all about democracy, and she's all about a lot of different things that we do here to help New York City in general, but the country as a whole. So it wasn't me, but it is Melissa whose heart runs deep for our city here.
This election, just as in previous elections, democracy is not the only thing at stake. Who the voters choose will determine the nation's economic policy, which is the backbone of any effective democratic society. Given that the US dollar is the major currency for international trading, how markets and the global economic will react to today's election outcome is yet to be seen, given that this has not been a conventional US presidential election year due to the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Usually, stocks have done well on election days. The election results are not expected tonight because of the large amount of mail-in ballots, which means investors and the international community will just have to wait until all the ballots are counted.